Hi everyone, welcome to today's panel discussion. My name is Debbie and I will be the moderator for today's session. I'm joined by Dr. Azhar Hussain, who is a lecturer of geology. So he's going to be talking more about the landscape of the caves that we have here in Malaysia. Jessica, she came all the way from US, but I think you are Malaysian now, right? Or Asian. So she's a very experienced cave diver as well as underwater videographer. So she will share with you about her exploration that she's doing across Asia as well as in the US and in the UK. And last but not least, we have Rosman, who is he's a caving instructor before he got into the cave diving passion. So he will also share with you why is it important to have that skill, caving skills when we are doing cave exploration. Okay, so maybe we'll start off with Rosman first. Rosman, you want to share with us a little bit more about your background, how you became a caving instructor, and what got you into cave diving or cave exploration?
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. Okay, my name is Rosman. So, if you ask me, I start with outdoor activities. I go camping, hiking, everything. Then suddenly I got bored. Then I go into the more extreme that need to use rope or different technique to explore. Then I go for caving. I started about 2010. Then I become a caving instructor around 2018. So I've been exploring cave in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia. So in Malaysia particularly, when I explored, the dry sections is not a problem. The vertical section is not a problem. But the underwater section, when we reach for underwater section, I can't explore. I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the equipment, so I start learning about cave diving. Time goes by, then suddenly there's a group of cave divers came and take course with me actually. They learn about the caving course. Then suddenly now we have MCDA. Okay, for within these few years, if you ask me about the exploration or the training, every cave diver should go for basic caving course, at least. Because know more about the formation, the speleothems, everything. Be nearer to the cave, so you can explore more. So for that section, we leave to Dr. Azhar to explain about the speleothems and everything. That's the geology part. But if you ask me for training, yes, go for dry training and the underwater training. Get both knowledge and you get somewhere someday. That's from me.
Thank you, Rosman. Yeah, I do agree. I think based on our experience as well, sometimes people just want to think that cave diving is just, you have an opening, you can just go dive in and do the diving, the cave diving. But actually, no, some of the caves are actually quite difficult to get into, like the entrance. Can you share more about that? I think those that you explored here in Malaysia.
Okay, let's say, okay, the one in Perak, the Perak mines. Okay, you need to trek the jungle about 40 minutes with your tanks, your gears, the rope, until the cave entrance. And then you need to crawl on a mud surface around your waist depth. You need to crawl with the equipment until the dive site. And then you can dive. So without a proper crawling technique or holding gears technique, it won't be possible to reach that site. With everyone each of the diver 2 tanks with 1 deco tank, so 3 tanks. Then, oh, heavy, you know. But with certain group of people, certain knowledge, yeah, we managed to explore. Although it's not deep, not that deep, about 33 meter, with a few junction, not much. But yeah, we managed to explore that part with the knowledge.
Okay. So what kind of manpower that you need usually when you are going for an exploration?
Okay, manpower. If you ask manpower, yeah, we need a lot of manpower.
So any volunteers here in the audience,
because
if you want
in
to help?
MCDA, Malaysia Cave
Yeah,
Diving
maybe share a little bit
Association.
more about the logistics, the operations when you're going for an exploration. Like, what do you need?
Okay, normally we go about 10 people in the group. So sometimes 10 people, only 2 we allowed to dive because everyone is already tired bringing all the gears in. So 2 divers go in to explore everything. Then later we plan for the next dive. But yeah, MCDA, we are not just cave diver actually. We are some caver, we have geologists, we have videographer, and we have supporter. Supporter meaning they are not cave diver, but they are caver helping out with the logistic problems.
Well, MCDA, I mean, he keep mentioning that that is the Malaysia Cave Diving Association. And I think we have a booth here. What's the booth number?
Yeah, the booth number
Rosman?
is B42. If
Okay.
you want to ask more about cave diving, to know, yeah, we can share about it. No worries.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rosman. So let's
Thank
pivot to Dr. Azhar. So Dr. Azhar is, like I mentioned, he's a lecturer in geology. He's an expert in terms of, you know, the kind of understanding about the landscape that we have here in the caves in Malaysia. And he also a trained cave diver himself. So Doctor, you want to share a little bit more about your experience and, you know, what get you into cave diving too?
Okay, I started off as a geologist, a classical trained geologist. I started off in a mountain, and I was an alpine geologist working essentially in the Helenites in Greece, looking at the evolution. And a lot of this mountain, and the mountain tops are limestones. And in the mountain top, you get caves, but not big. If you go away from the main mountain range, you come down to the older mountain range, then you get what used to be the mountain top, but now they are closer to the sea level. And this is where you get both dry cave and wet cave. And this is where the challenge is. So I started from the mountain as a caver. Then I went down to the lower contour and the islands, and then that's where I do both caving as well as cave diving. So that was the background of my in the area. Yeah.
So thank you for that, Doctor. So what about, I think you're very familiar with the landscape here in Malaysia. About, I think we started to explore that there are actually a lot of potential caves, underwater caves here in Malaysia. Can you share a little bit more about like what do you look out for when you are maybe looking for a potential place?
Okay, in Malaysia, our mountain belts at the in the west coast, these are essentially Paleozoic mountain belt, 250 to 50 million years. So they have been eroded quite down almost to your lower contour. So the possibility of looking for both dry and wet cave are very good. The problem is we are in a tropical country and the vegetation is huge and our groundwater level is very high. So we have to get across swamp, we have to get across forest, and in most places the roads does not reach to where you want to go for your exploration. So a lot of logistics is required to get you from where your vehicle can take you to where you want to go at the cave. So there's a whole range of places where you can get from very close and very far. We have come some places in Pahang, we could find a path that goes straight into the cave. But there are also places in Kedah, where in Perlis, where you got to go a long way, cutting across several rivers, several valleys before you can get to the cave. So the challenges are always there. Of course, in Sarawak, in the West Sarawak, you get cave very close to the sea level because of the old bowl mining. But in the interior, you get caves right out in the Mulu, which are very, very high. But because they are close to the river, you do get wet cave inside them. Okay. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. Yeah.
I know, Doctor, that you started exploring together with Lee Kian Lee, who is all of you are gonna be hearing tomorrow. He has a session tomorrow. Can you share your earlier experience, like how you got to know Lee and then how you guys decided to start? Oh, we want to explore.
Okay.
Caves in Malaysia.
We started off looking at cave.
Yeah.
He has a Land Rover, and we got tanks in between us. We know there's no place where we could get a dive center, so we make sure that we have sufficient tank to last us for 3 or 4 days of exploration. Our first target was right up in Perlis, Kedah Perlis area. We found good place to explore, good place to both have to climb up as well as going down. Then we found that in quite a lot of places there were limitations to what we can do. So then we decided that when we came back, we decided that okay, we need to learn SRT, single rope technique. So instead of hiking, we can actually lower with ropes and so on. Then that's when we got to know Rosman, and then we learned the single rope technique with Rosman and Zaino at that time. And then beyond that, we started to do both hiking as well as single rope technique, making our exploration much better. Now, also because I was a geologist working a long time, besides the cave, we also have ex-mining land, underground mining, and that is where we started to look at Sungai Lembing, and it is a cave in the sense that there's no direct sunlight, but you have to go quite way into the tunnel, and then you have to lower yourself by rope down to the water surface, and then you start diving from there on. The water is very clear, but because it has been abandoned since 1983, so the little touch on the floor and the bubbles that goes to the roof will start to rain down all the suspended material. So visibility is really a challenge in that area. And we are still going back to Sungai Lembing on and off, and it is still one of the better access cave. Then at one time we went up river in Kenyir because from my archaeologist friend, we know that there were ancient settlement, Orang Asli settlement, and they live by the cave. And now after they make the dam, the Kenyir Dam, which is the one of the biggest dam in Southeast Asia, the whole place was flooded. So what happened then was that, okay, we managed to get permission to go up. I think you were with us. We went down right to the edge, and then where was the Guabama in Guabama area. So we got to the platform, and then we went down, and we actually found a few rather large cave system coming in and out. But we only had about 1 day because we had to come out because we don't have enough supplies. We have to come out. We were thinking of going back again, but then that was 2019, 2020 we had a pandemic, and I think now it's about time we go back to look at in Kenyir area. Okay, yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Doctor. So we have heard more about, I guess the scene of cave diving, caving, exploration in Malaysia. Let's hear more from Jessica about the other parts of the world that also have a lot of different areas of caves, like caves, underwater caves in other parts of the world that also worth exploring. So Jessica, how about you share with us, yeah, maybe first your background, what brought you here to Malaysia, and also maybe just the experience exploring caves in other parts outside of Malaysia.
Yeah, so the first thing that brought me to Malaysia was actually work. Kind of boring, but came here for work, stayed for the food. So I like the food, I like the culture, and so I want to bring my hobbies here, which is cave diving, videography, photogrammetry, documenting the world for others to experience. And the caves here are limestone, so it's similar to like Mexico, except Mexico is so thin that everything's kind of washed out, whereas here the caves are still untouched. So when we go in, we go exploring, those bubbles are knocking out the silt, the visibility goes bad pretty quickly, but it's still an adventure to get into them as well. Whereas Mexico has become so tourist focused that you can just park right at the entrance, jump in the water, and off you go. Whereas here, we go through jungles, we climb up ropes. Other caves around the world are the same way. So like the UK, for example, where they kind of pioneered cave diving before it was scuba diving. They had to actually be a dry caver, go in, find this pool of water that's too much to find their way through. And so then they had to put on a helmet and pump air in and try and walk to the next location to see what was there. Thailand, US, everywhere has different cave structures depending on whether it's limestone or granite. France, for example, is very popular.
What interested you to get into cave diving?
I've loved exploring in caves since I was a kid. So I grew up in the Rocky Mountains of the US, and from there, because I was so close to the mountains, anytime I found like a little hole to hide in or climb in, I would do that. Family trips and anytime I saw that there was a cave, even if it was a tourist trap, I'd want to go. I like the speleothems, I like the decorations, I like the concepts behind it. There's such a rich history with caves, both in Malaysia and elsewhere, both cultural and historical in terms of water flow, where cities have grown up, where mining has happened, and it's all super fascinating for me.
Great. So let's talk a bit more about the cave diving itself. I think nowadays cave diving is becoming more popular, and for some people it may sound very glamorous and exciting, but for some it's like a scary thing to do, right? Going into an overhead environment, what happens if I get stuck inside and things like that. So proper training is very important. Yes, it can be fun as long as you are trained properly and knows what are the things that you need to be careful of. So can you share with us more about, like, if someone is interested to become a trained cave diver, what are the things that they need to go through, and what, yeah.
So if you search online, you'll hear a lot of people that say, oh, make sure you're technically trained, make sure you have redundancies, you've got backup tanks. There are good books. Check, for example, discussed, like, we've learned from the mistakes of the past. But what's incredibly interesting is that there's a mental component too. Like, if you're scared of caves, instead of like putting yourself to go into them, find other ways to experience it, to feel if you're comfortable with it before you put yourself at risk. Panicking is a bigger problem, so understanding the environment, understanding what to expect, being aware of the weather, being with somebody who knows the geology of the area, who knows how caves work in the area that you're at. It's all very good to understand. If you're somebody who likes hiking, for example, especially around here, if you don't pay attention to the weather, you might be flooded and trapped somewhere, or worse, for a few days. And so caves are just that, but on a different level.
What kind of preparation that you usually need to do before you go into like a cave diving trip?
And so first we have to identify that there's at least a possibility of a cave. And during exploration, you don't know if that's going to be anything. So we could go through the jungle, carry the tanks, carry the gear, and our dive time is 5 minutes. But part of the preparation is just knowing that there's a cave, knowing who's in charge of the land, knowing if it's safe, knowing what what to expect, knowing the weather. We have to have service support. We have to have people on standby to be able to help us if there is a different problem. We have to have some sort of concept. They need to know that if we're in the dive for too long, that there is a problem, send somebody else, or vice versa. And so there's a lot of coordination at all aspects that has to be taken care of.
And what are some of the prerequisites that you think a diver needs to have before they can go into training for cave diving, to get the cave diving certification?
You have a good competency with buoyancy, a good understanding of the diving skill. It's very important because if your fin hits the wall, not only is that just silt in general, but you're also damaging the geology. And that geology can be very important for both historical or even just preservation purposes. Beyond that, we focus so much on gear, but it's more about the redundancy rather than just having a lot of gear. It's having lights that work and testing them in the water to make sure that things like O-rings haven't failed, and just having that sort of meticulous nature to be able to just not worry about, oh, I need to rush and just get in the water and just go and I'll solve it when I'm 20 meters under, but more just like take your time, don't be in a rush, give yourself plenty of time to both prepare, set up, verify, check with your buddy, all estrils and all those things that you're like, oh, no, I already did that in class. A mass drill, I don't need to do that. Just do it. You'd be surprised if you haven't practiced those skills in a while, you'd be surprised at how easy some of those things are to forget or to become a bigger problem than you realize. And you don't want that to be happening in an emergency.
Thank you for sharing that. Hopefully, all that information has been helpful for aspiring cave diver. And maybe just because of the interest of time, what about we get maybe each of our panelists just to share any advice for our aspiring cave divers if they want to embark into this adventure? Maybe Rosman, you can start first.
Okay, advice, yeah, some people call me crazy because I do a lot of extreme activities, but do your best to try the activity first. Get the proper knowledge, try the activity out, and feel it. Is it suitable for you or not? Cave diving is not a game for everyone. It's not an activity for everyone. It's for someone. But yeah, we don't have Discover Cave Diving. We don't have, because you need to be certified to do the activity. But maybe you can try in some open water area with all the granite structure, like Tioman or something. They have some caven zone. It's called some caven zone. Try it out. Is it possible for you to go more into cave diving? Then get the certification. After the certification, yeah, come to us. We'll bring you to the extreme part of cave diving. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like caves, you like exploring, like definitely consider cave diving. As Rosman said, be mindful. Try it first. Don't push yourself. The caves have been there for millennia. They'll still be there for even longer than we'll be alive. One of the things that I like to do when it comes to like the videos and stuff is make it so that people can experience it without actually taking the risk. So, if people are afraid of sharks, I have VR, 3D videography of just sharks swimming around, diving, caves as well, so people can experience it. And if if you feel like, oh no, this isn't for me, you just take it off and you're safe. There's no risk, there's no swimming out, there's no panic. And just understanding your limits is very important because you don't want to have any sense of bravado in a cave because that is where you start compounding potential issues.
Thank you.
Okay, I think if you want to interested in cave diving, the first thing is that you must have the spirit of an explorer. You you ask yourself, do you like to go into somewhere new? Do you like to go into somewhere challenging? Do you like to go somewhere where there is a lot of uncertainty? If you think your mind the answer is positively yes, then cave diving is for you. Then only you go and see the different people and do the basic skill. Do the basic skill in dry caving, then do the basic skill in diving, and then go into cavern, and then shipwreck, and then go into cave diving. Then you see the progression, and then over time, you will mature yourself as a cave diver and a cave explorer. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank all our three panelists here for their very insightful sharing. If you guys want to find out more, yeah, please go to visit Malaysia Cave Diving Association booth. You know what's on Jessica's hand there? That's a VR headset where she has this gorgeous 360 view of the cave diving that she did in Mexico, so you can experience that. And this video that I was showing behind, this is actually the Sungai Lembing, the one that Rosman was talking about, the Dr. Azhar was talking about, the project that's still ongoing. So thank you everyone for listening to us. Thank you.